You know, in this huge race to build smarter and smarter AI, you'd think the next big safety breakthrough would be some new fancy feature. But what if it's not? What if it's actually a fundamental flaw, one that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time?
So here's the headline. A brand new analysis just dropped looking at the world's most advanced AI models, and it's found this really surprising weakness. And it's not just in one model, it's across the board, right at the core of how they think.
But here's the wild part. This isn't bad news at all. In fact, it raises this huge question. Could this totally accidental flaw, could it actually be the most important safeguard we have right now?
Okay, so let's dive into what we're calling AI's accidental safeguard. To really get why this weakness is such a good thing, you first have to understand one of the biggest fears in AI safety.
Think about it like this. To trust an AI, you can't just look at its final answer, right? You need to see how it got there. You need to see its work. The absolute nightmare scenario for researchers is an AI that can learn to think one thing, but show us something completely different. An AI that could, hide its real thoughts.
And that's where the good news comes in, because this huge study looking at 13 of the top AI models out there shows they just can't do that. Right now, they seem to be fundamentally incapable of hiding their thoughts. So how did they figure this out? Let's take a look. All right, let's go inside an AI's thought process. To really grasp what's going on here, we need to get familiar with two key ideas that researchers use to peek inside an AI's brain.
First up is something called the chain of thought, or COT for short. It's exactly what it sounds like, the step-by-step reasoning an AI spits out to get to an answer. It's literally the AI version of your old math teacher telling you to show your work. It makes everything transparent.
Okay, and that leads us to the really crucial concept, COT controllability. This is all about measuring how well an AI can control its own reasoning. So for example, could you tell it, hey, solve this problem, but whatever you do, do not use the word red while you're thinking it through, and can it actually follow that rule?
So that brings us to the controllability test. Researchers put this idea into action. They gave these 13 different models more than 13,000 tasks to do, and there was just one simple catch. For each task, they had to follow a specific rule about their own internal thoughts. And the results were honestly staggering. Just look at this chart. The difference is, well, it's huge. When you ask these models to control their final answer, the thing you actually see, they're great at it. They nail it like 90% of the time. But ask them to control their internal thoughts, it's a total disaster. They just fall apart. The best any of them could do was under 16%.
Now let's just park on that number for a second. 15.4%. That was the absolute best score from any of these super advanced models. For what seems like a pretty simple instruction, that is just a shockingly low success rate.
And this quote, oh, this is perfect. It shows you exactly what this failure looks like in real time. A model was told, do not use the word XR. And what does it do? It immediately uses the word. And then you can see it basically having a little panic attack in its own thought process. Oops, I wrote XR. I must not use the banned word. I already did. It's incredible. It's like watching someone talk to themselves and realize they just can't follow their own simple rule.
So where does this control really start to break down? The researchers dug in and found a couple of key things that make it even worse.
Okay, so two things are at play here. First, bigger models do have slightly more control. Kind of makes sense, right? But the second factor is way, way more important. The more complex the problem, the longer an AI has to think about it, the significantly worse it gets at controlling its own thoughts.
And this right here is a huge deal for safety. It means that for the really hard problems, the ones we'd be most concerned about an AI going rogue on, its ability to hide its reasoning actually gets weaker. Its thought process becomes more transparent, not less. That's a massive win.
So you might be wondering, what if you just tell the AI you're watching it? Hey, we're monitoring you. Well, the researchers tried that too. And the result? It barely made a difference. Just a tiny, tiny improvement. That fundamental weakness, it's still there. So, what does this all add up to for the future? Well, this discovery is becoming a new safety benchmark. This isn't just some interesting tidbit for a research paper. It's actively changing how we measure AI safety. So let's break down the key takeaways. First, this lack of control, it's a feature, not a bug. It means we can actually trust our monitoring a lot more. For now, because of that, this thought control becomes a critical new metric to watch. Think of it like a canary in a coal mine. If that number starts to go up, we know we have a problem. And this isn't just a suggestion. It's actually being formalized.
From now on, researchers are going to report this COT controllability score right on the official system cards for all new powerful AI models. It's becoming a standard part of the safety toolkit, right alongside things like performance and bias.
So where does that leave us? For now, it looks like we have this amazing, unexpected safeguard literally built into the DNA of today's AI. They are, in a way, pathologically honest. They just can't help but show their work. The big billion-dollar question, of course, is, will it stay that way?